Yo, Broncos Country, get your heart ready because what I'm about to tell you is going to make you relive the most intense emotions of this season. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, I really don't know what you're waiting for because what this team has been doing is movie-worthy stuff. And look, when I say movie-worthy, it's because there's drama, there are comebacks, there's emotion, right down to the last second. But before I reveal which game was number one on this explosive list, let me ask you a question. Do you remember that feeling of watching your team fighting for the top of the division? That sensation of waking up on Sunday knowing there's going to be some real hard-hitting action on the field? Well, family, it's happening right now, and I'm going to show you the 3 games that prove this team is no joke. Stick with me until the end because number 1 is going to give you chills. Check out the situation. 9 wins in 11 games. Let me repeat that so you can feel the weight of it. 9 wins in 11 games. This is the best start to a season in a decade, my friend. A decade! While people out there are doubting, questioning, saying it wasn't going to amount to anything, what this roster did was shut everyone's mouth with first-class football. And it wasn't with boring games either, you know? It was with drama, with fire in their eyes, with grit that only those who wear that orange and blue know what it's all about. Now let's get to what matters, because I've picked out the 3 most absurd, most exciting, most breathtaking games of this season so far. And you can be sure of one thing, each of these matchups showed a piece of this team's soul. Each fourth quarter was proof that when the pressure's on, Broncos Country responds. 3rd place on our list. And look, it already starts with some weight. Broncos versus Eagles. Final score, 21-17. Those of you who were watching this game remember the desperation? Of course you do. We entered the 4th quarter down 17-3. 14-point deficit. Family. And it wasn't at home. It was on the road. At the place of the guys everyone was calling champions up until that moment. You know what our team's record was when entering the 4th quarter down by 14 points or more on the road? 1 win in 112 games. You read that right? 1 in 112. The chances were practically 0. Discouragement could have taken over. But you know what happened? This team simply said, no, today is not the day to give up. And then the magic started. My brother. 18 unanswered points in the 4th quarter, 18-0. The offense woke up, the defense became an impenetrable wall, and that stadium that was celebrating started to go silent. Touchdown for Evan Engram, 2-point conversion with a play that only those who have real courage have the audacity to call in that moment. And to top it off, 5 consecutive defensive stops to close out the game. 5. The defense simply said, you're not scoring any more today. Bo Nix, our quarterback, was surgical in the final period. 9 completions out of 10 attempts, 127 yards, 1 touchdown, and a rating of 152.1. 3 consecutive drives that ended in points. And when the Eagles tried the desperation play on the last snap, that Hail Mary that could have changed everything, the defense knocked it down and sealed one of the most improbable comebacks in franchise history. Coach Sean Payton said afterwards that this game was the turning point of the season, and he was right, family. That's when everyone saw this team doesn't quit. This team doesn't hang its head. This team has something different. We left there with 3 wins and 2 losses on the season, but mainly leaving with the certainty that something special was starting to be built. The Eagles were unbeatable until then? Not anymore. We showed that when the game gets tough, we get tougher. But look, if you thought that game was exciting, just wait until you hear the 2nd place on this list. Because what happened in this next matchup was so absurd, so cinematic, that to this day there are people who can't believe they saw that. 2nd place, Broncos 33, Giants 32. And I don't even know where to start describing this game because every second was an emotional roller coaster. First, I need to give you the context of the moment. It was the day we were honoring the late Demaryius Thomas and the Super Bowl 50 championship team. Imagine everyone's emotion in the stadium, the energy of that place, all the memories coming back. And then the game starts and we start getting beat up badly. We entered the fourth quarter down by almost 20 points. Almost 20 points, man. Everyone already had that face like, it's not our day. Ibas. But then something happened that will be forever etched in the memory of those who love this team. 33 points in a single quarter. 33. Let me give you a statistic so you can understand the craziness of what I'm talking about. Teams that were down by 18 points with 6 minutes left in the game had lost the last 1,608 games. 1,608 consecutive losses in that situation. But us, we decided to be the exception. Because Broncos Country isn't a team that looks at statistics and accepts fate. No, we write our own path. Troy Franklin caught a deflected pass and turned it into a touchdown. The defense, with Justin Sternad making an interception in critical moments, gave the offense the breathing room it needed. Bo Nix ran into the end zone and put us in front. And you must be thinking it ended there, right? Nope, the Giants responded, went back in front with just 37 seconds on the clock. 37 seconds, family. But there's a detail. They missed the extra point, and that's when the impossible became possible again. 2 deep passes, one to Marvin Mims Jr., another to Cortland Sutton, and suddenly we were in position to kick the game-winning field goal. And believe it, that kick went through. Those 33 points in the fourth quarter were the most points scored in any period in franchise history. And you know what else? It was the second highest scoring quarter in the entire history of the league. Bo Nix entered the league record books as the first player of all time to achieve 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns in a single quarter. First of all time. That stadium in Denver exploded, my brother. That magic that only happens there, at that altitude, with that crowd making noise, with Demarius Thomas's soul watching from somewhere. It was one of those games you tell your kids about, your grandkids. It was football in its purest and most unpredictable form. And look, before I get to game number 1, which absolutely deserves to be at the top of this list, I need to ask you something. If you're truly Broncos Country, if you bleed orange and blue, if you got excited with each of these comebacks I just told you about, then subscribe to this channel now. Turn on the notification bell because every week there's new content about our team. Leave a like to boost the algorithm and help this video reach more people in the family. We grow together, we celebrate together, we suffer together. That's how it works here. Now, yes, let's get to game number 1. And this one didn't need a historic comeback, didn't need 33 points in a quarter, but still it deserves to be at the top. You know why? Because of the significance, the weight, what it represents for the future of this franchise. Broncos 22, Chiefs 19. And when I say that score, I know you feel a chill, because beating the Chiefs isn't just winning another game, family. It's making a statement. It's warning the entire division, the entire conference, the entire league. You're going to have to respect us. For the last 9 seasons, the Chiefs have been at the top of the division. 9 seasons. And now, because of this victory, that could change. Our chances of taking the division for the first time since 2015 jumped to 75%. 75. Can you process how huge that is? The game was a battle from start to finish. Nobody gave anything away for free. Every yard was earned with sweat and hard hits. In the middle of the fourth quarter, the Chiefs went ahead. It seemed like it was going to be that same old situation. Us getting close, but not being able to get past them. But no, not this time. Frank Crum blocked their extra point. Blocked it. Kept the game within 3 points and lit that flame that we were still alive. On their next possession, the defense forced a 3-and-out, gave the ball back to the offense, and we tied it with a field goal. When Kansas City tried again, Jaquan McMillian came with a sack that killed another of their drives. And then Bo Nix did what he's been doing all year, deliver in decisive moments. 2 third-down pass conversions, those passes that can't miss, that are decisive. And then he found Troy Franklin to put the team in position to kick the game-winning field goal. Now hold on to this. Will Lutz kicked from the exact same distance as that kick that broke our hearts last season against these same Chiefs. The same distance, as if the universe had written this just to close a cycle, just to prove that this time the story would be different. And it was, family. The kick went through, the stadium went wild, and the victory was ours. 3 consecutive home wins against the Chiefs, 3 of the last 4 in head-to-head matchups. Their dynasty still exists, but we're showing that we're not going to make it easy anymore, that we're not just going to accept second place. We want that division crown back, and this game was the biggest step in that direction. This matchup was announced as one of the games of the season in the entire league. And man, it delivered everything it promised, and then some. It was physical, it was strategic, it was emotional, it was everything you want to see in a divisional game against the strongest rival, and we left the field with our heads held high, with 9 wins on the season, and with the feeling that this year really is different. So look at what we have here. A team that came back from 14 points down in the fourth quarter against the defending champions. A team that scored 33 points in one period on one of the most emotional days of the year for the fan base. And a team that finally knocked down the division giant and opened the path to reclaim what's rightfully ours. 9 wins, 2 losses, best start in 10 years. And what's impressive isn't just the number of wins, but the way they came. It wasn't easy. It didn't fall from the sky. It was earned play by play, quarter by quarter, with sweat, blood, and a winning mentality that had been dormant for too long. Bo Nix showing he's much more than a promising rookie. Showing he's a leader, a guy who, when the game gets hot, when the pressure suffocates, he responds, whether with his arm, whether with his legs, whether with the coolness in critical moments. How many quarterbacks can do what he did against the Giants? How many can lead that comeback against the Eagles? How many keep their head on straight when playing against the Chiefs in a game that decides who's going to run the division? And the defense. This defense that's making critical stops, that's getting turnovers at the right moments, that's getting to the opposing quarterback when the game calls for it. Frank Crum blocking an extra point, Jaquan McMillian with a decisive sack, Justin Stranad intercepting when there was no room for chances. It's a complete team, family. It's not just the offense carrying, it's not just the defense holding. It's all 3 phases working when needed. And special teams? Will Lutz has been ice cold. That guy doesn't shake, no matter how big the moment. You put him out there to kick the game-winning field goal against the rival from the same distance that hurt last year, and he simply delivers. No drama, no fear, just perfect execution. Now we have 6 games ahead in the regular season, 6 games to confirm everything that's been built up to this point, 6 games to guarantee not just playoff qualification, but to guarantee that division that's rightfully ours, because it's one thing to make the playoffs as a wild card. It's completely different to get there as division champions, with home field advantage, with that respect that comes from having knocked everyone down along the way. The experts can say whatever they want. They can doubt, they can question, they can say it was luck. But those who were there in those stadiums, who felt the energy of those games, who saw these guys turning around impossible games, know this isn't luck. This is a real team. This is a roster that believes in each other. This is a coaching staff that isn't afraid to make bold decisions in critical moments. Sean Payton calling a 2-point conversion when everyone would call for the safe extra point. Confidence. Calling aggressive plays when you could play for the tie. Courage. That's what makes the difference between a good team and a special team. And you Broncos Country, you who are reading this now, you're part of this too. Every fan screaming in the stadium, every person watching from home and believing even when it's tough, everyone who doesn't turn off the TV when we're down by 14 in the fourth quarter, you're the 12th player on the field. You're the energy that this team feels and transforms into impossible plays. Remember when we entered this season and everyone had more doubts than certainties? Remember the projections saying we'd fight for a wild card at most? Remember people saying Bo Nix wasn't ready, that the defense wouldn't hold the potent offenses of the conference, that Sean Payton was in decline. 9 wins, 2 losses, highest probability of taking the division in years, historic comebacks, victories against teams considered superior. Each of these games was an answer, a slap in the face of those who doubted. The game against the Eagles showed resilience. It showed that when everything seems lost, when the statistics say it's impossible, this team finds a way, doesn't accept failure, doesn't give up points, fights until the last second, until the last down, until the last snap. The game against the Giants showed offensive explosion like we hadn't seen in a long time. It showed an offense that can wake up at any moment and put points on the board at a frightening speed. 33 points in a quarter isn't normal, family. That's elite team stuff. A team that, when it finds its rhythm, becomes unstoppable. And the game against the Chiefs? That showed maturity. It showed we don't need to score 40 points to win. Sometimes it's about making the right plays at the right moments. It's about the defense holding when it needs to hold. It's about the field goal going through when it needs to go through. It's about executing the game plan perfectly when the opponent is too perfect for you to make mistakes. 3 different styles of victory, 3 ways to prove this team has all the necessary tools. Bring on a grind-it-out game. Bring on an offensive shootout. Bring on a desperate situation. We have an answer for everything. And most importantly, each victory built confidence. Each impossible comeback planted in these players' heads that there's no situation too big for them. When you come back from 14 points down in the 4th quarter, you start to believe you can come back from anything. When you score 33 points in 15 minutes, you start to believe any score can be reached. When you finally knock down the division giant, you start to believe you can beat anyone. This confidence is worth more than any statistic. Because football at the end of the day is about believing. It's about that moment in the huddle when time is running out, the score is against you, and someone has to look teammates in the eyes and say, "We're going to do this." And everyone believes it. This team has that now. You see it in their eyes. You see it in their body language. You see it in the way they play the 4th quarter. Nobody panics. Nobody gives up. Nobody accepts defeat before it's official. The next 6 games will define exactly how far this season goes. They'll define if we finish as division champions or wild card. They'll define if we have home field advantage in the playoffs or if we'll have to win on the road. They'll define if this season will be remembered as good or as special. But one thing is already defined. This team is different. This team has something the teams of recent seasons didn't have. It has that something extra that transforms talent into victories, that transforms impossible situations into last-second miracles, that transforms a group of players into a family united by a common goal. And that goal is clear. It's not just making the playoffs. It's getting there dominating. It's getting there as one of the most feared teams in the conference. It's getting there making everyone who's going to face us think twice before relaxing, because they know that until the last second of the game, until the last snap, we're going to be fighting. Broncos Country, those 3 games were just the beginning. They were the foundation of what could become a historic season. Each comeback, each dramatic victory, each impossible moment that became reality was a brick in this construction. And the work isn't finished yet. There are 6 more games ahead, 6 opportunities to add more glorious chapters to this season, 6 chances to prove that everything done up to now wasn't chance, wasn't luck, it was pure competence. So enjoy each game, celebrate each victory, suffer through each moment of tension, because that's what makes football so special. It's not just the final result, it's the journey to get there. It's the moments that make you jump off the couch, that make you scream with the packed stadium, that make you hug the fan next to you even without knowing them. So, Denver Broncos family, which of these 3 games was the most exciting for you? Do you agree with this order, or would you put it differently? What specific moment made you believe this season would be special? Comment down below. I want to know everyone's opinion. And if you're as proud of this team as I am, drop that like, share with all your friends who are also Broncos Country, And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. See you in the next video, and until then, keep the faith that these guys are going to keep delivering great moments. Let's go together until the end. Go Broncos!